Today on The Chat, we talk TV reboots. Have we had enough, or do we want more? That's coming up right now. Don't go anywhere. Welcome to The Chat with J and K. I'm Jay O'Reilly, and as always, my gorgeous co-host is the wonderful Miss K. Hey, Miss K.
Hey.
So let's get straight into it. TV reboots. Will and Grace has been rebooted after a long hiatus. The original series ran from 1998 to 2006 with 8 seasons. Was rebooted in 2017 with season 9, or season 1 as they kind of call it, but in my mind it's season 9 of Will and Grace. And the new season, season 10, is due to come out this October. So we're extremely excited about that.
Very.
Come on, Kara, it's our turn. Kara.
Is she asleep?
Wait, it could be a trap. A smaller Karen might shoot out of her mouth and bite your face off.
I got this.
What's going on? What's happening? Who won the election?
So Will and Grace returned after a long hiatus of over 11 years in total. It was extremely exciting, especially since they completely erased the last episode of season 8, where we saw them. Well, I didn't actually see them, but we'll get into that later. But
Yeah. So yeah, it kind of done a time jump from. It did 2 time jumps in it because when you saw it last, it was her pregnant with Leo's baby.
Yes.
So we saw because they had a very, very a fight that you never actually see. They kind of cut it off where she was going to tell him, because he made it very clear that if she left him again after telling her again that he wanted to have this baby with her, that he cope with it. And so yeah, you kind of see him walk back in just as she's getting back with Leo, and you see a time jump. Oh, I would say it would be about 3 years, and they kind of see each other, but you can see that they've lost their connection.
Their homojo.
Their homojo, yeah. So yeah, but they ended on good terms, kind of things. They just weren't as close. And then you see another time jump, which shows the children in college taking their rooms across the hall from each other, just as Will and Grace did when they were children.
Wow. That's the part I missed out on. So I'll just briefly explain that. Will and Grace was a particularly important show in my life. When I found out that the last season was being aired, I was horrified. So in my mind, to prevent it from ever finishing, I just wouldn't ever watch the last episode. So that seemed perfectly rational in my mind. I kept over the decade since, I had Kay in my ear the whole time saying, "You've got to watch it. What's wrong with you?"
I must say that when it first ended, I was so mad at you. Not because even that I thought you needed to see it, but was really selfish because I just wanted to talk to you about it. And just recently, I ended up watching the whole show all over again. And this is like a big, big break between when it ended and now. And I watched it again and I saw the last episode, and I remember I think I texted you in the middle of the night and said to you, never watch that.
That's right.
It's unnecessary. It was really mean. I almost found it even out of character. I was just because he is so forgiving and loving of her, Will. He was really, and they'd already had this fight. They'd already resolved this fight with the insemination kind of thing. So I don't want you to watch it. I don't think you should watch it.
And that's why when the reboot was announced and they did erase that last episode, I was quite happy personally, because I hadn't watched it, so it didn't.
And you don't need to now because it's not a part of the show.
That's right. And I know that was controversial for a lot of people at the time, but I think it was the best decision for them to make. And the producers and the directors of the show explained that they had to do it that way because Will and Grace just can't be any other way. They have to be dysfunctional, basically. They said.
It's more believable to kind of have, because they were, and it was brought up in their first real big fight after she backed out of the insemination when she first met Leo, and she said, "I'm going to take this chance to try and be happy," and he said to her, "This isn't going to work." you're going to break up with him because he has a weird, like,
Yes,
chest hair thing or a weird haircut or he doesn't watch E. And he was like, he really went into it with her. And that is so true. It really is so true. And she kind of said to him, well, it's really good for you because you love it when I'm miserable. And I'm not saying that he does. I do think he loves taking care of her. It makes him, because he loves feeling really like he's got jobs, and that's what he does with Jack, and that's what he does with Karen. He really does, like, he is the nurturer of the group.
Yeah, he's the father of them all. Yeah, exactly. So the reboot, like we said, erases the last episode of season 8. We come back and they're just as dysfunctional as ever, which is the way we love them.
Yes, that's right.
Their relationships never last. They're nothing like, except for the 4 of them. That's the only thing in their world that lasts. Why that show was so special, I think, was...
Yeah, and I've said to you before, in the last episode that you didn't watch, there is just this one part that I really, really loved, and it was just show Jack and Karen together, and that was like... And she said to him in a, like, you know, sorry, I'm kind of like doing spoilers. I suppose you're not going to watch it.
I'm never going to watch it anyway. So
they were just sitting reading together in the mansion, and like they were old. They both had their glasses on, and he had grey in his hair, and he looked so gorgeous. And I think it was her. She said to him, "Do you ever find it strange that out of all the relationships we've ever been in, ours is the only one that's ever lasted?"
Mm.
And he said, you know, I never thought about it, but it's true.
It is.
And it makes me cry. That is the only scene in the last episode that I would like to tell you to watch. That's it, but...
Maybe.
I might cut it for you and just give that to you.
So I've been really impressed with the Will and Grace reboot. It's always one of the fears when a show is rebooted that it's not going to be as good as the original. But in Will and Grace's case, I think it was a show that did end before it was really finished. And this last season, I think, has been just incredible. And the magic and the chemistry of the original series is really still there.
It's crazy. You're so right. And it's like when I'm watching it, it's almost like, I don't know, I have trouble kind of telling between these episodes and the old ones. I have to remind myself that it's been such a big break because it really is like it's like they never stopped.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just fell back into place.
Yeah, so so for this reboot, we give it a big tick and a big thumbs up. It's absolutely surpassed my expectations. So the new season will be airing in October. It's already been guaranteed another season after that. So 2019 we'll be seeing season 11 or season 3 of the reboot, as they keep calling it.
Yeah, if you follow them on Instagram, the cast, you can actually get to see a few behind the scenes.
I've been loving that. I've been loving how they all posting out of them on set and what they're up to. It's really awesome.
I saw Karen actually getting her boobs powdered while they were getting ready to film it. Yeah, it's so good, and you can really see how happy they are to be back together, and they're really having fun with it, and that really comes across on screen. So I'm really happy about that.
They love it. They love it. And it's amazing seeing them get into character like that. They're posting out photos of them before and then after, especially Karen or Megan Miali. She's as a remarkable transformation from her as Megan and as Karen. It's incredible. You wouldn't recognize her as Karen walking down the street when she's just normally dressed.
God no, and she has a whole full body persona. She does. She's really good. She's an amazing actress.
Whereas Deborah Messing is just great. Whatever I've seen of her in interviews, etc., she is exactly how she is on TV. You know, she's just hilarious.
Yeah, definitely.
So the next TV show we're talking about is Roseanne. Roseanne's a controversial one, but it is another show that we absolutely adored, the original series. So the original Roseanne ran from 1988 to 2007 with 9 seasons. So it was one of the oldest shows to date that had been rebooted. And the reboot was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. I loved it. It was so good to see the show come back after nearly 20 years. It did, however, all fall apart, but
so it should have, but yeah. She did make it's a mistake that she made that you can't come back from. I can't see any network getting behind that and be willing to, have that show on their label. And basically when you do that, you kind of are, in a way, taking responsibility for what she's done. And I don't see anybody doing that. There's only one person who can take responsibility for what she done, and that's her. And yeah, I was really devastated that she'd done it.
Yeah.
I don't know her personally. I haven't watched a lot of her interviews. I don't really I haven't had much to do with her whole outside of the show kind of thing. So I don't know what she's like, what she's about. I remember seeing an interview where she's saying pretty much was like supporting Trump, and I was a bit like, oh really? Like I don't know. I don't follow that kind of side of her. So
no, it was she famously was tried to be a presidential candidate for the Greens party. So she used to always, I've watched quite a few of her interviews, and she used to always say that she went so far left that she actually ended up back around on the other side, on the right again. So her political history is very interesting. But I actually thought that was an interesting dynamic of the new reboot. I didn't mind the fact that she was a Trump supporter. I thought that was a good way of highlighting, the fact that there are Trump supporters out there that can get along and live with, like Jackie on the show was a Hillary supporter. So it was a good contrast. But yeah, there was just no way of coming back from that tweet. We have our own opinions about whether it was, whatever about that particular comment, but it was pretty disgraceful, the comment, and there's no excusing it. There was no reason to do it. It was so frustrating for me, I guess, because just that one tweet destroyed an entire show that could have gone on to have done as many seasons as the original. That was frustrating.
It's been amazing, and it's like I've that's one of the shows up until the reboot. Like I own the whole thing from start to finish, and I can't even tell you how many times I have watched that show from start to end. Like I love it. It's a real comfort thing for me. I think 'cause I grew up watching it. It's always been on TV, and when they took it off, I downloaded it, and I really, really love, just the family connection. I love the witty jokes and the dark humor of it. It was like I really, really enjoy it, and it was kind of like, I don't know, it kind of ruined it for me. It's kind of like she tainted the older episodes for me, and like
unfortunately,
it's almost like I don't know, I felt like I knew these characters kind of thing, and then just from her doing that in her own personal life, it kind of ruined that for me. It was really weird.
Yeah, I always loved her humour. She, for me, she had a fantastic sense of humour, but it sort of put a horrible taste in my mouth now when I think about wanting to watch the old series again, because I used to binge watch the old series all the time. It was one of my favourite, like you said, comfort shows, just to sit down and chill out and watch.
Yeah.
So it's a real shame, really heartbreaking. If we just judge the reboot as it was, I think it was pretty well done, pretty successfully done.
Yeah, definitely. It was funny. It was like clever. It was same as Will and Grace, just like stepping back in, even though they had these new characters and everything. The chemistry between the original characters was still there.
Yes,
and
I agree.
It's so nice seeing DJ old and just like really getting to see them. Like it was like watching Darlene mother too, like be a mother. It was like this repeat, like she was running through these motions that her mother had done with her when she was younger, doing the things that she hated when she was younger. But I think she finally got to see that that's how she got raised, and that's how she wanted her daughter and son to get raised too, and I really love that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was the chemistry between them all was exactly the same as it was. Especially, I especially love Jackie's character, Laurie Metcalf. I think she's just hilarious.
Oh God, yeah.
She for me, beside from the original series, besides Roseanne, it was Laurie Metcalf that was the biggest star in my mind.
God, yeah, and it was always really good. Like we're lucky with her. I got to see her on Big Bang Theory. We got to see her on that. So that was like I just love her. I love her as an actress. She's amazing.
Me
she really
too. I watch anything that she's in,
Me too.
absolutely anything. But her
Yeah.
character on Big Bang Theory is absolutely hysterical.
Yeah, she's hilarious.
We might touch on that in another episode, but yeah. So the reboot, as it was that season 10, as they call it, of Roseanne, was a success in my mind, and the rest of the world agreed. I mean, it was the biggest rating show on ABC for decades.
Yeah.
So again, that's why it was such a shame, and it was instantly renewed by ABC for another season. But after Roseanne did what she did, they cancelled it. But luckily, the remaining cast have been able to cobble together another series called The Connors, which we're going to see, I think, toward later this year or early next year.
Yeah.
Focusing on Darlene's character, so that's going to be interesting to see how the show now evolves without Roseanne.
I would like to see it, and it's going to be good. I do think as long as they maintain that kind of humour that they've got and the connection, I do think it's going to be fine.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so, and I hope the rest of America and the world think so as well, because ABC were basically just fulfilling their contractual agreements with the cast and the crew that they already signed on for another season. So whether this goes past its first season, the show The Connors, is to be seen. I guess if it does well in the ratings, then ABC may pick it up. But at this stage, it only happened because they had already signed contracts with the cast. So they were either going to have to pay the actors anyway or make a TV show. So luckily, they did go for that option. But yeah, so as a reboot, we do give it a thumbs up, but
But yeah, it had its reasons for falling apart.
Yeah. So the next show we're talking about is Charmed. So the original Charmed went from 1998 to 2006 and did 8 seasons. And it is being rebooted by the CW without any of the original cast. So it's a complete reboot from scratch. So the previous shows we've talked about have been sequels to their original runs, whereas Charmed is going to be a complete reimagining reboot from the start.
Something is wrong.
Yeah.
Which has gotten a lot of the original stars unhappy. That all the original cast have all been in front of the media saying how this is, disgraceful. They're not happy at all. They're really angry. Really angry.
Do you know if it's going to be like, they're going to just is it going to be like the same characters and then just do the whole story again, or just kind of? Well, I don't see whether that's that bad. I watched it. I think I can't remember. I think it was Piper. She was the one who was married. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I remember something happening with, this is so long ago, but I remember something happening with him. I can't remember if he died or something happened with them. Something happened with their relationship, and that was when I was like, I can't do this anymore. If they're not together, I'm done. Like, I walked away very, I can't say how early. I want to say it was around season 5 when I was just like, nah, I'm done.
Yeah, her and Leo's relationship was very turbulent, and because he was a white lighter, so he was already dead, and he was like a form of an angel. Yeah, so he did die again a few times from what I remember. We're going back a long way. Long way.
It is. It's very vague in my head. I can't really
But the CW, when they announced the series, said they're doing it because they want female empowerment, and this show's all going to be about that. And the original cast have fought back and said, well, but that was what our show was about. We were, so you're saying that our show, the original series, wasn't about female empowerment? The original cast are taking offense to that, saying that, somehow their show wasn't as feminist or as women empowering as the new show is going to be.
See, I don't get that because what are we talking about here? When did Charm end? Charmed end.
2006.
Okay, 2006. So that's a while ago.
Yeah.
That is a very long time ago for something to end, and to not just bring it back. It's a good idea. It had a really nice concept to it, like three sisters, like, you know, fighting, you know, for good and all that. I like that kind of stuff. So I don't see how, like, it's just it ended. So bringing something like it's a good concept and it does empower women. I don't understand why that's such a bad thing, but you know, I couldn't grasp that obviously because it wasn't my show and I didn't act in it. So maybe they've got a different perspective, obviously, but I don't get that.
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit of sour grapes on their part. They probably wanted to be included in it. They didn't get that chance. I mean, look, you know, to play devil's advocate on their side a bit, you know, it would have been nice if they had have been included in maybe the first episode, maybe their like relations of the original Charmed sisters, and they're sort of, you know, passing the torch on to these new Charmed ones. I guess that could have been an interesting way of them doing it, you know, and including the original sisters, but you know, that's it. Like you said, it's a complete reboot, so it doesn't really have anything to do with them anymore. And I think it will be, you know, from what the trailer looks like, I think it will be a decent show. It looks fairly good. I'll be watching it when it comes out. I'll give it a go anyway. You know, speaking of witches, another show that is being rebooted after an extremely long hiatus is Bewitched. So the original Bewitched ran from 1964 to 1972 and did 8 seasons. And obviously starred the beautiful Elizabeth Montgomery, the late Elizabeth Montgomery. And this time it's being rebooted, and the producers are saying it's going to be a modern take on the show because and they're going to have a black actress be Samantha, which I think is fantastic and is, again, what Joss Whedon wants to do with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yeah.
It's really, really good. I'm so excited to see this. That is one of the shows, like, I loved it. I thought it was so cool. I thought it was, like, I love the whole idea of it. So I'm really excited. I hope they have, like, some good actors for it. I really hope they kind of revive the role of her mother. I thought that that was one of my favourite characters, and I loved how she was just always in her business. I thought it was so good.
And Dora was priceless. Yeah, she was fantastic.
Yeah. I really loved that.
It probably would have happened sooner, this reboot, if it wasn't for Nicole Kidman's disastrous fucking attempt at the Bewitched movie. Now, I can't hold back when it comes to this because that was a fucking joke. An absolute fucking mess of a movie. And Elizabeth Montgomery would have rolled in her fucking grave because it was just dreadful. And Nicole Kidman is to blame in my mind. You know, she was fucking awful. Okay, and Will Ferrell wasn't great either, but no.
Oh, see, I haven't watched it. I heard about it. I saw the poster and I was like, oh no, no way, no.
No, it was the worst movie ever in my mind, and I was a huge fan of the original series, so to see what they did with that movie really disturbed me. So I'll say it again, fuck you, Nicole Kidman, fuck you. Bitch. So I'm excited to see this reboot, and it was one of those shows that I sort of put in the never gonna be rebooted basket because, and the other show that I put into this category is I Dream of Jeannie, because both shows existed at the same time in an era where, you know, the era of the traditional housewife, where the woman was subservient to the man. And if you watch the original series of both I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched, they were very much like that. Samantha was under the thumb of Darren. You know, she was always having to rush around getting his dinner ready and do all the housework. And I remember lots of lines in the show where he would say, no, Samantha, I'm putting my foot down. You're not doing this or you're not doing that. So it was very, I guess, you know, to put it into today's context, it just, in my mind, it wouldn't work. That type of show, where if it was going to be exactly the same dynamic as it was in the original series, I just don't think it would work.
Let's stop simmering and start boiling.
You all right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's the idea?
What's a friendly little pat between a husband and wife?
From now on, I'm locking the liquor cabinet.
Trick or treat?
Don't push me, little boy.
Aren't you going to give us anything?
More than you bargained for if you don't run along, little fellow.
Then we're going to have to trick you.
I'm ready if you are.
Abracadabra, you're a tree. Let's get out of here.
I kind of like to think about stuff like that and just kind of feel like they were really, really popular shows, and like you think about they ended before we were born, kind of thing, and we were still watching them on TV when we were younger. And that shows the popularity of it, and that obviously, that could have had an impact somewhere along the way on a lot of people. And I'd like to kind of think about them redoing them almost as a cleanup crew. Go through, and these women, they should have been empowered. These women they literally were empowered. They had powers. So it kind of took away from that, and it did make them these just typical housewives and a majority of the show, you don't really see them out of the house. They are in the house getting stuff done. And even to the point where the husbands were controlling the power that they had, making them hide. And I'm not saying you should be out there, I'm a witch or I'm a genie, but it was almost kind of like they were ashamed these women had these powers. I don't know, it wasn't good. I'd like to think that they are kind of doing this because they know the show has a following. I have seen it used a lot, you know what I mean? It's talked about a lot still. So I would like to think they're going to redo it to kind of reprogram, reset the message that they were sending out to girls.
I think that's a really good point. I think that's a good way of looking at it. And they have said it's going to be a modern take, so there's no way they're going to have Samantha running around being her husband's slave, or on I, Jim and Jeannie, where she, if that show was to be rebooted, I, Jim of Jeannie, there's no way she'd be running around calling him master, for starters.
The internet would come for them if they did that kind of stuff. And I think they're going to fix that stuff up.
By the way, I'd love to see I, Jim and Jeannie reboot it, but I want them to use original Barbara Eden, please. She's still beautiful. She's still glorious. Put Barbara back in the I, Jim and Jeannie.
Barbara back on the TV,
Please.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see the Bewitched reboot for this particular reason. It's going to be interesting to see how it's all reimagined. I hope it's still a comedy like the original, though. I hope it's not going to be too serious or too heavy on that side of the emotional relationship side. I hope it's a light comedy like the original was. Because I think that was a reason for its success. She had these powers, but it was still incredibly hilarious to watch.
Yeah, and it's so weird because I want the same thing, but it's I really, really do want the same thing. I want it to be kept light. I loved the way it was set up. But then we looked at a show like we were going to talk about again today is Sabrina.
Yes.
Teenage Witch, and you look at that, and I saw I watched it. I did watch it, the original series. It wasn't something I had to follow every episode because they kind of, it was one of those shows where they did kind of start off on a new, little mystery game at the start, and you didn't have to really be watching every episode to follow along with it. And I like that. But that trailer is epic.
Isn't it?
So excited about that. I'm so happy they're going to be taking it from a completely different way. Very excited.
So the original Sabrina ran from 1996 to 2003 and did 7 seasons. But yes, the reboot of it is based on the Archie Comics other series in Sabrina, which was the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which is what it was called. So the Netflix is rebooting it with that theme in mind.
What is this place? Why are we here and not out there?
So it's going to be completely different. And I was excited by the trailer as well. But again, like the Charmed reboot, the original cast are fuming, absolutely fuming that this is happening. And I think for very similar reasons to the Charmed reboot. They obviously wanted to be involved in it, and they're not. And there's probably a little bit of sour grapes on their part. But it's a complete reimagining of the entire character of Sabrina.
Yeah.
It's not going to be anything like Melissa Joan Hart's Sabrina. So you could almost think of it as it's going to be a different universe altogether.
Yeah, and it's kind of has to be with that kind of reboot.
Yeah.
It's not, it is, and like, because I love dramas. I love that actress. God, I've seen her in a few different things.
She's gorgeous.
And she's amazing. She really is amazing. I've watched her in a few movies now, and I've just been like, who is this girl? Like, she doesn't do a lot, but she's really, really good. And I'm so excited to see her. But again, same as Charmed and what we've talked about before, I can't really understand them being upset about it, but because it is a completely different universe. It's coming at it from a dark way, so I don't really see how their characters would fit into this new...
No.
Yeah. So I'm happy that they're not doing that with this one.
Exactly. There's rumours that it may have a crossover with Netflix's other Archie comic book series, Riverdale. So that's going to be interesting to see how they work those characters into it. But yeah, again, I can't wait for this. It's going to be on Netflix. It's going to be being released later this year, and it's going to be one that we'll definitely be watching and chatting about. I'm really excited for it. So I give that one a thumbs up, as well as Bewitched. We give that a big thumbs up. So the Friends original series ran from 1994 to 2004 and did 10 seasons. Another show that I have watched every single episode of all 10 seasons, actually probably dozens of times by now. I absolutely adore Friends, and I put Friends in the same category for me as Will and Grace. It's one of those shows that it doesn't matter how many times I watch the episodes, they are still funny, still hilarious. It just never gets old for me.
Yeah, it really doesn't. And that's another show that I have downloaded the entire series of. And I will think about an episode that I've seen and watch one of them to go and see it again, just to, because I've got this joke in my head that I want to see play out again. And then I end up watching the whole thing all over again, because it really is. It is so good. It's so
hilarious.
Funny. Yeah.
It is. It's still relevant. I still love watching it. So there's been rumours of a reboot for quite some time with Friends. It's still very much just a rumour. Jennifer Aniston, in a recent interview, alluded to the fact that she would really love to see a reboot with all of her other cast members. However, David Schwimmer, for one, has come back and said that he probably wouldn't want to be involved in a reboot.
Okay.
So that poured a bit of cold water onto the idea of it. However, then there's been later rumours that maybe just the 3 female stars could come back and reboot the show with just them. And I think that would be a fantastic way to do it. I don't think it needs to have all of 6 of them return. I think the show could be perfectly carried with just the 3 of them. Monica, Rachel, and Phoebe. I think it would be a fantastic show.
I can't believe that he won't do it. I really can't. I think they were some of the most highest paid actors.
They were at the time. They were getting $1 million each for each episode for the last, I think, 2 seasons.
Come on, David, just do a season. Let's just give us one season. I don't care if they can't carry it on for years, but I would love to see a follow-up of just get them all back, tell them it's 12 episodes.
David Schwimmer has said that he doesn't want to be in a Friends reboot, although he didn't say, never, never, ever, ever. but he's not too keen on the idea. And relating that back to Will and Grace, he's actually going to be starring in season 10 of Will and Grace as a romantic interest of Grace's. So we will be getting to see David Schwimmer very soon in season 10 of Will and Grace. But yeah, I was disappointed too when he made those comments. I would love to see it happen, and never say never. I mean, again, even if it was just the three of them, it would still be a fantastic show. Also the idea of rebooting, or having a spin-off, with Phoebe's character has been floated around several times with Lisa Kudrow. Probably Phoebe was my favourite character in Friends. So I would love to see even just her come back in a spin-off show with just Phoebe, but if Jennifer Aniston wants to be involved too, then just let's just get them together with just the two of them.
Yeah, and I didn't watch Joey. I think it was just called Joey, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I watched a few episodes and I was like, no. She is probably the only character that I would have liked to have seen a spin-off series from. So yeah, I'd be interested to see that.
I would love to see that. Yeah. But again, these are only rumours. It may or may not happen, but in this age of reboots, who knows? So, have we had enough, or do we want more? I personally love this season, reboots that we're in at the moment. It's pretty exciting for me. We've only touched on a couple of reboots that have either happened or are in development. We will probably do another episode on a lot more, because there's literally dozens of them at the moment that are being rebooted. So
there is a list actually that shows that there are up to 100 different reboots happening at the moment.
Wow.
Yeah. Everything from cartoons like the Jetsons. They're bringing the Jetsons back. Murphy Brown is coming back for another season. And Veronica Mars has just said that she's going to do another season as well. So yeah, there is a lot happening.
Wow. So I say yeah, we want more. I want more. I love it. However, I say that with a caveat though, because like the Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie era of shows, they have to be careful about how they're translated in today's culture. So I think reboots, bring them on, but make sure that they're appropriate for today's era. Because and accept the fact that not every show needs to have a reboot. Not every show should have a reboot. The reboots that I've personally watched so far, I've been really enjoyed, and it has added to the original series. And that's sort of the test that I set for a reboot. Can it add something to the original series, or does it take away from? All the reboots that we've talked about today, in my opinion, add to the universe of those original shows. So, I say I want more.
Yeah, I do want more, and I have heard a lot of people say that it's almost as if writers have run out of ideas. And look, I understand that point of view, but the lucky thing for people like us is that these are shows being rebooted that we grew up watching. So I am really into it. I could understand maybe younger people not being as interested in it because they don't know the previous universe, and that's why shows like Sabrina and Charmed are good, because they didn't have any of that to base what they're going to see coming to TV, and that is so cool for them. And like I said about Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie, if they're going to bring that kind of stuff back, it's time to, really take that chance to be politically correct and clean up some of the stuff that they've kind of done in the last ones. I do think it would be so nice for, not just the younger people, for us to kind of see that kind of fixed up a bit. I would love to see that happen with Bewitched. I'm so excited about Sabrina. The trailer looks epic. And to me, the new trailer for Sabrina is actually kind of going to clean up the mess that I kind of had. I had a few issues with the original. I liked it. I didn't love it. It was a little bit child's play.
It was.
This looks really epic and young adult kind of themed instead of just, all age. I'm excited.
We've got a lot of good stuff coming up on TV this year and next year. So it's going to be great. Like I said, Will and Grace is coming back in October. That's going to be fantastic. We've got, that's it. We've got Sabrina. We've got Charmed. There's a lot happening. So we're going to be busy watching TV. That's our show for today. Thank you for watching, and a big thank you to Miss K as always. You can find the links to her YouTube channel, Gracefullmess, in the description below, and to her Instagram page and Etsy store. If you enjoyed our show, please like and subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. And we're done. Bye.
Bye. Should we just keep going past them?
Yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna let Daryl... No, actually, fuck him. You stay down. You be quiet.
We talk TV reboots.
Are you, like, forgetting where we are? Like, what's going on? Oh, look!
Oh, Cleo, can you look at the screen?
Oh, it's Jacob. She's so cute and chubby.
And a noisy cat.
Daryl's like, I want to eat her.
Cracked pepper jats.
Oh, no. I love cookies.
And mustics.
No, set up. What happens to finished coffee and some Jeffree Star lip scrub?
Ooh, yummy. Alright.
Hang on.
Alright, so...
Lip scrub. Okay.
You're not meant to eat it. Okay.
He said it on his thing. You can eat it. It's vegan.
Oh, wow. Okay, I take that back. You can eat it. Take another mouthful.
It's edible. And we're going again. Die! Yeah, we are. You're just ruining the outro. We're live on YouTube. The whole world can see you. No, we're not live, but we're filming. Can you just... He can stay, but get the big ones out. Big ones out.
Big ones out.
There's water up there. You gotta knock that water over. It's alright, just go. Just leave. Just leave.